The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary Related Entertainment.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes. Now in our 10th year of broadcasting each week, we continue talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support those with needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's Cabinet and Appliance Showroom located in the Waikapu Base Yard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. During this hour, we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they are changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. Today we're going to start off the show talking with Paul Tonneson, who's the Executive Director of the Friends of the Children's Justice Center. Hi, Paul.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hey, it's April's coming.
Yes, Prevent Child Abuse Month.
And I'll bet that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. Yep, we have to schedule these pretty far out, so I always try to time them for Prevent Child Abuse Month and then for our annual fundraiser, which August, September, I usually come on the show.
Right, yeah. So give us just a little rundown in case we have some new people tuning in today as to what Friends of the Children's Justice Center does.
Our mission is to begin a healing process for children who have been abused or neglected. We've been doing it for 30 years. As soon as the Children's Justice Center was established, they created the Friends of the Children's Justice Center to go hand in hand. And what we do is we fill in all the gaps that the governmental agencies and even some nonprofits are unable to fill for the children. So it can be anything at all that comes forward that's going to begin a healing process for the children. That's one part of the mission. The second part of the mission is to also do prevention work in the community, bring awareness to the community. And then the third part is to support the Children's Justice Center itself, which is part of the judiciary. So that is where a child is brought after they've been assaulted. It could be sexual, physical, emotional. We have the interview rooms like on Law and Order, and they will come in and they'll interview the children, and then if there's a disclosure, then they'll start processing whichever the prosecutor's office feels they need to do at that point. So that's a 3-part mission.
It is. And of course, there's so few children that go through this. No, he's giving me that look. He says, we wish, we could only wish it was a small project.
You know, it's funny because I know we've talked about this. People, back from the mainland will say, you have abused children in Hawaii? It's just they look at it as paradise. And when you have communities that are struggling, it puts a lot of stress on the families. So a lot of it isn't intentional. It's environmental, where that can be more domestic abuse, violence or whatever against the children, or emotional abuse, because words hurt just as bad. And then, naturally sexual abuse is an issue that exists everywhere in the world, unfortunately.
And that's true. And we look at the whole situation, and I know that we've talked about this, as you say, before, but I'm always concerned about how you are turned on to these people.
So we deal with 28 social service agencies. So what happens is we are, if you think of the center of a spider web, we're a big $sign. We only deal with professionals in the field. It can be a therapist. It can be a teacher. We deal a lot with teachers who come forward and say, we have a girl that hasn't had glasses for 3 months. The parents are not fulfilling our request. If we take her, which hats off to the teacher, down to the eye doctor, can you pay for a pair of glasses? So a girl's going 3 months without being able to learn in class because the parents obviously have challenges that they're not able to support the child in a proper way. So that's an obvious neglect case. We deal women helping women, Maui Farm, Maui Youth and Family Service, pretty much anyone that's dealing with children on this island, we are the go-to when they can't fulfill a need for a child.
And go ahead.
No, and it's funny because we had our board meeting last night, and Sheila Haynes is my board president, and she was telling a new board member, we never have to say no. So we're very fortunate because we don't have any state, federal, or county funding. We have a huge support system, so financially. So we've never had to say no to a child.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think your comment about the girl with needs glasses, so often we don't think about situations like that.
Correct.
When we talk about abuse, we think of physical abuse.
Right.
And you're looking for bruises or things like that.
Right.
But the needing glasses, that's something really a teacher is the only one that would know.
And that's why we deal a lot with the DOE. And again, it's amazing because they're on the front lines. They have these children with them for 6 to 7 hours, whatever the standard school day is, and they're able to see needs like clothing. This child showed up in the same clothes all week. They're not washed. They're being teased. We'll get a voucher for them to go down to Ross and buy new clothing. So some of the schools are actually putting in washer and dryers.
Oh my goodness.
And they're cleaning the children's clothes. So they'll keep a clean pair for those children that are in those situations, and then when they'll come in, they'll change into that and they'll wash the clothing. So it's amazing. There's so many compassionate people out there.
That's the other side of the story.
Yeah.
We always hear such stories about teachers in school, and they don't care, they don't do this, they don't do that, they're always taking days off. It's the other side that you're seeing.
Right. There's a compassionate side. It's bureaucratic, like every other government agency, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of empathy and compassion for the children that are coming in front of them, and we're glad we're able to fulfill those needs because we fulfill a lot of them within the DOE.
Right.
Yep.
Boy, that's some things we haven't talked about before.
Right.
The special care and consideration that teachers give.
Even Kaiser. We deal with Kaiser.
Yeah.
Children that are coming through there that don't have clothing, same thing. As long as it's professional working with the children in the pediatrician's office or whatever, they'll send in requests asking if we could send them down and get them some clothing from Ross.
Wow.
And a lot of time it's financial hardship too. It's not, like I say, it's not an intentional neglect. They really don't have the resources to clothe the child.
But a lot of people would say, but that's no reason for them to go with dirty clothes. But it is in some cases.
It is. A lot of people are living on the beaches here. Families homeless.
Right.
I just got a request to buy a tent for a family.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And so they can have shelter on the beach. So and a lot of challenges: drugs, alcohol, mental illness, economic pressure lead to child abuse and neglect as far as emotional and physical.
Right.
So that's another thing we work on. We try to strengthen the family, not just the children. So that's where family strengthening, the protective factors come in, find support and stuff like that. You had Islands of Hope on here last month, I believe, with
Something
Jenny
like that,
Bissell and
yeah.
Karen. And perfect example, we have a kiosk at the mall, Queen Ka'aumanu Center. Thank
Right.
you so much. They have generously given us a kiosk, and we have about 170-something brochures on services for families in need.
Wow.
So you can walk up there and get anything from housing to food stamps to mental health services, Alateen, Al-Anon. I mean, pretty much anything we could think of. It keeps growing because, every time someone will say, oh, can you? And then we'll just find that agency and say, can we get some of your brochures?
Interesting. Yeah. So it's going well.
It's going really well.
You kind of hate to say it's going well when it's a need like that. But
yeah, Casey Family Programs, which is part of UPS, it's their foundation, came and did a study in Maui. They deal a lot with the foster care system. And Kahului was the hot spot where domestic violence, sexual assault, physical, emotional abuse was happening. So they came back and said, how do we get to these people? Well, we thought of the mall with the bus stop. And so the kiosk is right next to the playground right there. And we've already been able to serve people. We've only been there 3 months. And like I say, the mall is Tony and her crew over there. Have been very generous letting us utilize that kiosk.
Yeah.
Because it's helping their the people that are walking through there also, it's helping their community. And I believe I'm not sure, don't quote me on it, but Queen Manu cares or something, I think is their little slogan about the community. So they do a lot for the community. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. When you talk about some of these things that are going on out there, and I guess the average person has no idea this is happening.
No.
We're not exposed to it on a daily basis, or even periodically. I would imagine we kind of go through our own little lives and do our thing, and once in a great while something will happen that we take note of it.
Right.
But I don't think we understand how massive this is.
It's not only massive, the damage done to these children, they don't know how to process their behavior. And hats off, our annual supplement will be in the Sunday paper, April 7th, that we put out, a prevention supplement. And it's talking about the courts working. I called it the article, A Kinder, Gentler Court. So they're understanding that we did a survey about 2 years ago, and 83% of the children that we knew we could prove, and I know it's higher than that were coming before judges for punitive action for their behavior, are victims of abuse. They just can't process that trauma. They don't know how. So some turns to drugs and alcohol, which leads to other things. Some run away. Other kids, it could be violence. They're acting out. There's not a healthy outlet. And so we created a journey program we call Journey to New Beginnings within the Friends. And it's reaching these teens and teaching them life skills, because most times it's lack of parenting, or the parents have challenges, whatever they may be. It could be alcohol, drugs, it could be mental illness, whatever it may be. But giving them a voice and letting them know that there's people out there that care. In the supplement, a young man who is in his 20s right now wrote an article anonymously. I asked him to write it anonymously, but it talks about him being taking care of the friends through his whole life. This young man, his dad committed suicide when he was 3. That's his first memory. And then the article will be in there, and then he talks about the drug and alcohol abuse within the family and the
Sounds like it went downhill from there.
Yeah. The mom had challenges, so, and it's a perfect example. He's thriving right now because we intervened.
Gotcha.
Because he did go the route that most of these kids that are traumatized go. They go into unhealthy behaviors because no one's out there. I shouldn't say no one's out there. They don't think anyone's out there that's going to help them.
Or they don't think they're worthy enough to be cared for.
I hear from adults say it to me all the time that were abused as children. Why didn't anyone care? You hear that all the time. Why didn't anyone stop it? That's hopelessness.
Right.
So you give a child hopelessness, we got suicide, or they're going to turn to drugs and alcohol, or they're going to turn to anger. They're going to just take the unhealthy emotions and process it that way. So we've had a really good success rate, which is great. We're going to launch it again. We're working with the courts for the juvenile court to work with another group of children.
Right. And
it's an alternative.
Now, in a lot of these cases, they can't just take the kids away from the parents. I mean, that's a huge challenge for somebody.
And we don't want to.
Okay.
I mean, you want to keep a family intact. There's times you can't until the mom or dad or whoever the child's in care with can address their own issues. Last year, we talked about this, you and I, on the radio. Broken children become broken adults.
Right.
People always say to me, that is so harsh. No, that's reality. And then we take broken children and put them through a criminal system for their behaviors. And I was just at a training with a bunch of the judges and judiciary, and the word hardened kept coming up, talking about adults, hardened criminals. Well, who hardened them? We did. No one went in with an holistic approach. So the trauma-informed care is a big thing right now. And the judges are really on board here in Maui County. That's what my article talks about. Understanding that most of the children that are going to come in front of them are traumatized. And no matter what we do punitive to them, it's nothing of what's happened to them. So how can we take a different approach? POI project from Maui Police Department, Positive Outreach Intervention. Children get to go through a program rather than go through the system.
Mm.
Carlo program, which is an offshoot of the POI program, brings the whole family in to help the family heal. So, and then it's not official yet, but we're also looking at a alternative processing center for juveniles that might be runaways and stuff. It's in the works right now that we've been working on with the courts. We have a group called Kuliki, and it's the prosecutors, the judges, and the police department, the DOE, a bunch of entities that are processing the children through the system, and that's where POI was born out of, that's where Carlo was born out of. So we're focusing on how can we take more of an holistic approach and a healing approach to the children rather than a punitive.
So it sounds like you've got programs for if to help the kids, and then you've got programs that help the kids and the adults if they're ready.
Right.
But if they're not, you still have some alternative things for
Correct.
the kids.
That's when you have to remove.
Right. That's when you take them out of the house.
Yeah, you have to, unfortunately. It's funny because the young man that was shot and killed right before Christmas was a hardened criminal. He was through the foster care system his whole life. You know what I mean? I know his sister, and she's a sweetheart and devastated by this. But again, how did he get to that point to come and shoot a standoff with police with a gun?
Right.
What brought him from A to Z? To finally, the police had to do what they had to do. They had no other option when someone's shooting at you to stop it from happening. But I always look at people like that and say, what happened?
Yeah.
And who helped them?
And look back through your processes and see if there's something that you could have done had you known what was happening.
Right.
On that note, we have to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our nonprofit executive directors to find out what's going on in their world. And today we've started the show talking with Paul Tonneson, who's the executive director of the Friends of the Children's Justice Center. And the focus today is on Prevent Child Abuse Month.
Correct.
And pretty much what we've been talking about is the eventuality of the abuse. And I guess the thing that gets me is that, obviously there's absolutely no way that every child that's being abused or neglected comes to your attention.
Right.
Something has to happen.
Right. There
to
has
bring
to
them
be an
up on the
action to
screen.
bring it forward. Right.
Yeah.
And, that is so true. There's a lot of kids that are suffering out there, the silent ones, that obviously haven't been brought forward by some type of action that's happened that's drawn attention. Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part. We try to get into this community and just get the message out again, going back to the supplement. The kiosk down at the mall, because that's where a lot of families in need are coming through with the bus system there and stuff, and telling them there's help. A lot of people don't even know that there's help available because they don't. It goes back to what we just talked about. They don't think anyone cares, right?
Or I'm just going to throw in something here.
Yeah.
Or we talk about the circle of abuse. You come from abuse.
Breaking the cycle.
Yeah,
right.
the cycle.
Yep.
You come from an abusive family. You raise an abusive family kind of situation, and if that's what's going on, it's not going to come out to anybody.
Right. And we talked about this before, Susie. The football player, Peterson.
Right.
That beat his kid with a stick, a
Yeah.
switch, he called it.
Yeah.
And actually, the child had to go to the hospital. And he was appalled that he got arrested for it, and international news over it, because he did nothing wrong. My father did this to me. So again, it's normalized in families of this is what happens, right? When it's not okay to have a child have to go to the emergency room. Thank God they were separated and the wife came in and intervened. But just think if he was controlling the wife too, and those are the situations we don't know about.
Right.
You know.
Then it's just normal because that's how we live. That's how we act. That's how our family goes about its business.
And it's funny because I've had foster children. I have a foster child now, and they are clueless to normalcy.
Yeah, they've never been exposed to
Society's normalcy, I
Right,
guess, the way it's
right.
right, because
It's abnormal to them.
it's abnormal, right? Telling someone you love them, what? I mean, just that emotion, or saying I don't cry. I get that out of these kids. Like they're proud of it, so they're stopping at another emotion that's healthy. It's a way you process your pain, right?
Right.
I mean, they're just so robotic and trained that don't cry, don't feel it. Well, a lot of times, unfortunately, these young kids, and we've got them as young as 6 and 7 years old, are turning to drugs and alcohol to numb it.
Oh my gosh.
Again, read the article that's coming out on April 7th, and this young man shared his story about going through the system and, how the friends have changed his life. He talks about that. He needed to numb it. He needed to stop feeling. So, unfortunately, fortunately today he's doing amazing.
Right.
But unfortunately he had to go through all those things to get to where he is today.
Right.
But I'm just happy not every child gets to the other side.
Do you know the rest of the family?
Yeah.
I mean, are we talking about others in the family that are going through what he went through earlier?
It's multi-generational. It's just dysfunction. It's alcohol and drugs. And I've shared this, and I'm not embarrassed about it. I grew up that way.
Right.
It's made me who I am today. My house was like a mini mental institution. You never knew, seriously, and it wasn't good. You never knew what was going to happen next.
Right. I remember you telling me
Yeah.
that.
So violence was the way it was. You got to the hospital and you got threatened on the way to the hospital that you had to lie about what happened to you, whatever it may be. So I didn't think anyone cared when I was a kid. I really didn't. I didn't think anyone cared. I wondered why no one was stopping it. When the beatings were happening, my neighbors were closing the windows. You know what I mean? And
Instead of calling for help for you.
Right. And a lot of people don't want to get involved. And so people, you have to be careful getting involved if you're witnessing something, but call the police.
Right.
You don't have to get engaged personally or interject yourself into the situation, but make sure someone gets there and protects the child. I mean, that's the important thing.
Right.
So.
That's, I don't know. Every time you're on the show, I'm dumbfounded because I'm one of those naive people that just thought everybody was like me.
Right.
I thought everybody's family
it goes
was
back
like
to
mine.
normal, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that's normal to you. So dad coming home and beating up mom didn't happen? No. I used to teach the prisoners anger management back in the late 90s here, and I used to do little normal scenarios.
Yeah.
So you get home from work, your wife has dinner on the table, you're going to go out and play with the kids in the yard, and they'd all look at you like you were nuts. I go, you get home late because you went out drinking after work, the wife's on your case, you assaulted your wife because they're there, obviously, for domestic violence, you don't have time for the kids. You can see them all agreeing, right? So that's what their life is. That's how it goes every day, and we need to educate them that there is another option. You know what I mean? That's the key. That this is not normal, even though it is normal. So, and again, for myself, it was normal to have violence every day. It was normal to have drugs and alcohol in my house every day. It was normal to have the police coming almost every day. Or something was going to always happen and you never knew what it was next.
Gotcha.
So it was more like a crisis. And I remember sitting as a little kid, like 8 years old, staring at the stars, not wanting to go home, but I had nowhere else to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm old, so we didn't have Child Protective Service, didn't even exist.
right
back then.
Right. And other family, I mean, just don't care, don't know what to do. But
Well, I can say for myself, the family that cared were excluded.
oh,
Yeah.
not part of your circle.
No, they were not allowed to come over. I remember my dad wasn't allowed to talk to his sister because she sort of tried to intervene a lot, and so that was stopped.
I see.
Yeah.
Controlling factors.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
So, but it's funny because Tony just said, it's a sad job. It is a sad job. I have to read what happened to a child that is going to affect them the rest of their lives. We just need to teach them how to process the trauma, right, in a healthy way.
They may not get over it, but they can get past
You'll
it.
never get over anything. Anyone will.
Right.
I mean, you think about it. There might have been something that happened to you, Susie, as a child. If something happens, it's a trigger, right? And it can't be like a bad thing, but it brings a memory back, right?
Right.
I mean, these kids are always going to have those memories. They're not going to go away. 80% of our brain is developed between 0 and 5. 80% of our brain. So it's already stored there. How do we give them a healthy outlet to process this? And that's where Journey to New Beginnings comes in, and trying to strengthen the families, trying to break that cycle.
Right.
So
Is there anything going on specifically for
we're
Prevent
doing
Child
the
Abuse
proclamation
Month?
with the mayor on April 8th, which is a Monday at 9 o'clock at the county building. We'll be posting something. With the change in leadership, it was sort of a little difficult getting in there and finding who's handling what, which is normal.
Right.
So they've been very great working with us. So we're going to do that. April 13th is Keiki Fest. And that's a huge event at Maui College. And it goes from 10 to 3. And that's put on by Kiwanis Club, Valley Isle Kiwanis Club.
Okay.
And we have about over 6,000 people come through there, pretty much families. And it's all the different nonprofits dealing with the children and state entities and county entities. And it's really a great event. There's rides, there's all kinds of fun activities, and it's just a day for the children. Kiwanis Club, Valley Isle Kiwanis Club does it every year.
No admission charge.
No admission, and there's prizes at every booth.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Just
So the kids get to
fun
do
time.
stuff, make things. There's arts. We give away little prizes, bubbles, little toys, whatever it may be. The kids spin a wheel and they have to answer a question about child abuse or neglect. Should you go with someone you don't know is one of them.
Oh.
Yeah. If someone hurt you, who do you tell? Is another question. So they're simplified for.
Right.
We can go from pretty much 2 to wherever with the questions,
Right.
but.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Our time's up. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, I'm glad because thank you. I have to go pick up my niece at school. Today's an early day.
It's it's like you say, it's a tough subject to discuss, but it's all around us, and to say it's not is to have our ears plugged or.
No one wants to know about it.
Yeah.
It's like when you see a dog being abused, it kills you,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
it's a hard thing to really look at and want to gain more knowledge about it.
Right.
No, because it's hurtful. It's like when I see something terrible on Facebook that someone posted about what happened. I can't even look at it. I'm like, that's horrible, right?
Right.
So you're automatically programmed to sort of shut off,
Yeah.
trying to absorb the. It's another form of trauma when you're watching something else happen to someone
Right.
else. So
But thank goodness we have folks like you and the Friends of the Children's Justice Center and all the groups that you work with
yeah,
out there trying to help
well, it takes
as
a
many
village.
as possible.
Even your next guest. No,
Right.
they do something for the families in need here all the time.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect. If we can get the community together and instill worth into the community. That the foster kids and the foster parents we've worked with the least can get free tickets to go to the aquarium and all those
Right.
things. It makes a big difference for them.
Yep.
It does show them someone cares. It goes
Right.
back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Susie.
Okay,
All right.
we'll
Have a
talk
great
to you
day.
later. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
Aloha. And we're going to our next guest, as Paul referred to him.
Sorry, Susie.
He's a funny guy.
We're going to talk about the Marine Institute at the Maui Ocean Center. Tapani, how are you doing today?
Good, wonderful to see you, and thank you again for inviting me over. And thank you very much for all the work you do for the nonprofits.
Oh.
It's just awesome.
Well, thank you. I I know that like we talked with Paul. That's a subject that we try not to talk about. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to acknowledge its existence, and so we kind of just go about our business and ignore it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is we look for simplistic answers and solutions many times, and what I mentioned earlier when we spoke off the air there during the break. Actually, what he's doing is really inspiring, but it's really a sad statement for us as a society and community that we need to have people like Paul to address these issues because nobody else is really working or there's not enough resources to allocate it to address these issues. And then many times seems like, to me, it's my personal perception that we come up with easy solutions like criminalize mental illness, for example, and so on and so forth, how it's handled in the judicial system. And it's really heartbreaking. And I wish as a society we would start having more of these more difficult conversations, like you said, and really face it head on. Right.
You're so right. I just I admire people who can step up and take part in that discussion. But let's talk about the Marine Institute for a little bit here. This is something that you started, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I believe it was around 2 years ago, 2017, I believe, during the springtime. Actually, a little bit earlier, when I started in the general manager position at Maui Ocean Center almost 4 years ago. Time flies. This was an initiative that we really wanted to make sure that gets off the ground and get started. And then I believe it was spring 2017 that our executive director, Tommy Cutt, started in his role. So things are moving forward in many respects.
Great. Now I know one of the key things. Well, actually, you've got kind of three missions: education about our oceans, the sea turtles, responding to sick, injured, distressed, and then the coral reefs, which is another big thing that we so often just take for granted.
You're absolutely right. The three foundational pillars, what you just mentioned. Number one, we are the Sea Turtle Rescue Center on the island of Maui. We work very closely with NOAA and with University of Hawaii Maui campus with Donna Brown and the Marine Options Program. They've been participating in that program and driving it for many, many years. We also the turtle stranding responder on the island of Maui. So if anyone in the community, anywhere on Maui, if you happen to see stranded turtle, call the following number, 808-286-2549. Again, that's 286-2549. We respond usually within 20 minutes. And just to give our listeners some reference here, in 2018, we had 375 hotline calls. 174 of those calls were actually confirmed strandings, which we actually had to address. And I would say about 82 of those were actually entanglements. So this is the fish line that gets the turtle all wrapped up in it. And I've seen many turtles that come to our facility that the fishing line, the sushi, it actually embeds itself into the flesh of the turtle and the flippers, and sometimes the turtles actually ingest them. And I don't mean to be graphic here, but this is what we see happening.
Wow.
And we actually, that kind of actually inspired us to start we call it a Lavaia Pono program. It's a fishing line recycling program. And we started that in June 2018. And we work collaboratively with the recreational fishermen here on Maui. Actually, this is now expanding statewide. And in 2018, we collected over 42,000 feet of fishing line. And so we work very closely with the recreational fishing individuals, fishing people. So it's really important that, again, we work collaboratively. This is the key word I would like to stress here, and this is what Paul was really talking about quite a lot as well, between the lines, what I heard. And, yes, we need to really evaluate, when I'm thinking about conservation and environmental issues. Many times everyone wants to ban always everything, and yeah, there are good reasons to ban certain things, but let's look at really how can we work together, collaborative, to provide alternate solutions, and for example, recent example of a banning here in the state of Hawaii was the sunscreen, which is actually amazing endeavor that happened statewide. I know Maui County Council was very active on that as well. So they had several hearings, etc. So I'm very grateful, as a community member for that. But that really is going to make a huge difference in the nearshore marine ecosystem, especially for corals, because there is a clear demonstrated link to corals. So that leads to our second foundational pillar, which is a coral repository. So we work very closely with the state of Hawaii. So we have a gene bank of rare endemic Hawaiian corals under our care. And state of Hawaii, DLNR, they have a coral lab on Sand Island on Oahu. If you ever happen to go to Oahu and you have some leisure time, maybe arrange a visit to see the work they're doing there. Their intent is to create fail-safe locations on each island. So one on Maui, which is Maui Ocean Center and Maui Ocean Center Marine Institute. We work collaboratively on that. And then on the Big Island and on Kauai. So this is especially critical because 9/11/2015, so ocean water temperature was 85 degrees of Fahrenheit. We are in the water almost every day, and this is what we saw happening. And as a result, the coral reefs around Hawaii, about 40% of it bleached. There are some species like cauliflower coral that never came back. We actually flew in a seawater chiller on top of our living reef building at Maui Ocean Center. So as a result, we didn't lose a single coral polyp or colony there. So this is to the extreme we now have two, but it is really the climate change that is happening. It is real. We see what is happening in the oceans, and that coupled with sedimentation issues and nearshore pollution issues, these are all clear and present dangers for our natural resources. And then the third foundational pillar is education, really create more STEM-based education program opportunities. And on the personal note, I'm actually going to take a week or almost 2 weeks off here in May, finally, of all these major projects I've been involved with. And we're actually going to go to Chicago, and our grandson is actually graduating from high school. But I've been telling him now for 3 years, while you're living at home, please find, because he's into animals and excited about veterinary issues, why don't you find a veterinary shop or aquarium or zoo, whatever, and go and tell them you want to volunteer. And because you have the luxury, you're living at home. So this is your time to actually go out there, forget about working for a salary. It's more important that you actually see the field in person. And unfortunately, he has failed to do that. I have failed to inspire him to do that. But I'll have a conversation with him when I go to Chicago this year. So the point that I'm making here that Maui Ocean Center Marine Institute also offers these internship opportunities for all the local kids. So I would highly recommend if you're a parent listening or if you're a student, go to mocmarineinstitute.org and sign up for that, or reach out to us and reach out to Tommy and tell him that you're interested in participating in this. I believe there's a way to sign up for that. And if you are not comfortable in doing that, just come on down to the Maui Ocean Center and come and talk to me. My name is Tapani. Just ask anyone. You'll find me there. So I'd be happy to talk to you.
Very good.
Yeah.
What age group are we talking about there? Roughly.
Actually, that's a good question. I would say, hold on a second. Let me see. I think Tommy just texted me internship. Actually, he didn't specify age group. Usually we have the volunteers and interns not too young. I'm thinking maybe 13 years and up, perhaps.
Okay.
But I can verify it with Tommy, and we'll post it on our website.
Okay,
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, on that note, we got to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Sure. Thank you.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our nonprofit executive directors to find out what's happening in their world. And today we're doing the second half of the show with Tapani Vaori, who is are you the executive director? Is that your title? General manager?
Yeah, I'm the president of the board.
There you go.
I'm a director on the board.
I got you.
Yeah.
You got the works.
Yes, I'm not the paid employee, so I work for free. I love it.
There we go. Okay, and we're talking about the Marine Institute at the Maui Ocean Center. I'm going to pull you out of the Marine Institute for just a second and take you back to the Ocean Center.
Sure.
You've got this new theater that you built for the show, and you call it the Sphere.
The Sphere, yes.
And I had relatives in town this last week from the Midwest, and I said, there's one thing we have to do. We've got to go see the show at the Sphere at the Ocean Center. And they've got kids that are 2 and 5 years old. And the 2-year-old is too young to go into the show. But the 5-year-old, I mean, he sat there, and just watching him was as much of a show to me as watching the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to give away any of the secrets of the show, but at the end he said, I got wet. I think I got wet. But he didn't. I mean, that's how enthralling the show is, that you're right there with the whale.
It really is a quite different type of experience. Really, the genesis for this experience was our founder and owner, Penji Khan. He really wanted to create an experience or exhibit, that is too large for a tank, basically. So, again, another plug for Maui County. It's so great to be part of this community because we have banned, I just said earlier, we should always be banning something, but this was the right thing because we actually banned cetaceans in captivity. So that means no whales, no dolphins, no seals in captivity. This is outstanding. This is the way it should be. So how do we inspire people? How do we share the beauty of the oceans? And this is a big disconnect that I see in other world-famous people in conservation and environmental fields. They see this, that there's a disconnect with the public. They don't always understand the beauty of the oceans, what's underneath the surface. So we really try to share this awesome experience, and in this case, awesome animal. It's the humpback whale, and you really feel... It's very visceral feeling, and you feel it in your backbone, when the whales are singing.
Right.
Yeah. So we're still calibrating a little bit. But it's quite awesome, actually. I want to make sure that the whale eye, when you see it, it actually penetrates your soul even more. So it is such an emotional experience for sure.
Right. Yep. And before the show, we were talking just a little bit about it, and you were telling me that it was like 3 years in the process of making this, what is it, a 20-minute video?
It's actually less than that. It's about 14 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It's quite intense, actually. And we do not allow any children under 4 years old at that age or until that age. So their optical nervous system is still developing, and there's some medical literature that actually recommends that you shouldn't be exposing kids to that kind of experience. Some people have kind of felt dizzy a little bit. It's not that strong in my opinion, but we're all individuals.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's just, you reach out, you feel like you can touch the fin as that one whale comes by you. I mean, it's
Right.
just, and that's all I'm going to say, because otherwise I'm going to spoil it
stop
for
right now.
everybody. I'm sorry. It's how do you write a review when you can't tell what happened? But it's just people have got to go and experience it. You're right. I mean, we go out in a boat and we see a whale out in the water and it breaches and you go and then you see a mother and what's the baby, the calf, right? And so on and so forth. But this is I didn't say it. Anyway, we'll stop there. I could go on and on because it was so fabulous.
Yeah, actually, there is Humpbacks of Hawaii exhibit right next to it, a brand new building. The whole building is actually a symbolic representation of a humpback. The exact building size is measured to adult humpback whale.
Oh, really?
And on the inside, we actually fabricated metal structures that we covered with iliahi. And for those listeners who understand the nuances and who have a better understanding of Hawaiian cultures, there's always this ever-present duality. So iliahi is considered to be the protector of kohola. So to me, this is really fascinating. And the more I learn about the Hawaiian culture, it just draws me deeper and deeper and really greater appreciation of all the nuances and how everything is really connected.
Right.
It's just awesome. And then, of course, Antihoku and Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission, they were really, and many other community stakeholders, very instrumental in helping us create a exhibit on Kanaloa. So this is an exhibit of Kaho'olawe that was at Smithsonian 20 years ago. And Antihoku actually created it there. It was there a few months, I believe, and then it came to Bishop Museum. It was there a few months, and then it was on long-term storage. And when it was offered to us and we actually had an opportunity to open all the crates, I felt like we were Indiana Jones there, dust everywhere and termites. And so we were able to actually recreate everything and really take it to the current day with the help of Antihoku. And that is actually quite emotional exhibit. I see a lot of people spending a couple hours easily there just absorbing everything. And we wanted to make sure that there's that sense of reverence. And I believe we have been able to pull that off. Of course, I'm biased, but this is, I see people there.
I think you're right, because as I watch, I kind of people watch as I'm doing things like this. And the number one, the Ocean Center is just such an unbelievable place. And I mentioned to you again earlier that it was like, everybody talks about Disneyland, how clean it is and how it's like it opened yesterday. And that's what you've presented over there at this point. And all the exhibits are always open. I mean, there's no place where there's a window that you're supposed to be looking at something where it says, closed for cleaning or this or that. I don't know how you do it, but it looks like you just build it and it's ready to view and enjoy. And from the little kids to grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of moving pieces there, but look, none of it would be possible without the amazing people. We have part of the Maui Ocean Center family and all the local community members, for example, who were involved with building the Sphere and the Humpbacks of Hawaii exhibit. There's a lot of great talent here on the islands, and it really does take everyone to work together to pull things like this off.
And one of the things I was thinking about as I was walking through the whole thing is how many people must get excited who have an interest in ocean and the mammals out there and so forth and so on. How many of them ever come back to you and say, I want to volunteer. I want to help do this. I want to help do that. I saw this. And it sparked in me, that something I wanted to do but didn't know how. Yeah.
There are. I get requests like that periodically, not quite often enough. So we need to do a better job in our communications and how we present these opportunities. This really is our responsibility, our kuleana, to make sure that we communicate to a local community and visitors, possibly as well, that, hey, there's opportunities to get involved. But it is my hope that we inspire everyone who comes to the aquarium or sees the work with Maui Ocean Center Marine Institute, that wherever they are from, they take what they have learned here and their inspiration back home, and they apply some of these things that we have found to be true here.
Right. Yeah, it's awe-inspiring. if I weren't such a dry land person, there's something about the ocean. I appreciate it. I admire it, and I would never do anything that I knew would harm it, But I'm just not the kind of person to be in it.
So how did you end up on Maui then? That's just silly question.
That's a good question. And I mean, I'm up on the hill where I've got the view of it all. That's okay. I'm one of those distant observers. But when I go to something like the Ocean Center, I think, gosh, I wish I really did. I mean, I'm a lake or a pool person. I'm not a saltwater person.
Yeah, well, we are all individuals, so that's all I had to say about that.
And that's why the sphere is so perfect for me.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to share with the community one more thing. What really I'm excited about the sphere is that we have had now a few events with the local community groups and nonprofits. We offer the sphere pro bono for community groups during the evening time to utilize for their meetings or events. It's really important to us, to me personally, that we add value to the local community every day. Otherwise, we are irrelevant, in my opinion, and I really hold us to, high degree of accountability on this issue. So it's important that we make sure that happens.
And how can they contact you to find out more about this?
They can contact me at Maui Ocean Center, phone number 270-7000, or go to our website and contact me through there. My email address is tworry@mauioceancenter.com. And you can also get hold of us on the mocmi.org website. And one more thing, we have a cleaning coming up, beach cleaning on April 14th on Sunday at Kealia Boardwalk from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's at the Hawaiian Islands Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary. That's coupled with the Earth Day beach and reef cleanup. So,
very good.
Just to put a plug there. Yep.
There you go. Thank you so much, Tapani Vorori, the head honcho at the
I
Maui,
just break things down.
At the Maui Ocean Center Marine Institute. Well, I appreciate your being here, and folks, I hope that you will take advantage of this beautiful opportunity that we have right here at home. You don't have to go anywhere to see this. It's here.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Tapani.
Okay, mahalo.
Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Please give them a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. Pacific Source has been our sponsor from day one, and we truly thank them for their ongoing support. We also want to thank you, our listeners, for the responses our agencies get from you regarding the activities talked about on the program. Maui Nonprofit Directors Association's mission is to provide personal and professional support to nonprofit executive directors, their organizations, and the community of Maui. Today we talked with Paul Tonneson of the Friends of the Children's Justice Center and Tapani Vori of the Maui Ocean Center Marine Institute, and got an update on what they're doing. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned some things from the show. Please contact them if you have more interest in learning more. Mahalo for tuning in. Don't forget to join us again next week right here, same time, same place, when we'll feature 2 more representative agencies. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great week, everyone. Aloha.